The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the picturesque village of Saint-Laurent. Nestled among the rolling hills of southern France, the village was a tapestry of cobblestone streets, quaint cottages with flower-laden balconies, and the distant sound of laughter from families gathered for dinner. Jean Dupont, a local carpenter known for his craftsmanship and gentle demeanor, finished his work for the day and began his walk home. As he strolled along the narrow path lined with lavender bushes, a sudden sound pierced the evening tranquility, a heart-wrenching cry that echoed through the stillness. Jean paused, his heart racing. It was a sound he had never heard before, a desperate plea that tugged at his soul. He glanced around, searching for its source. "C'est quoi ça?" he murmured to himself, straining to listen. The cry came again, more urgent this time. Without thinking, he followed the sound, weaving through the familiar streets until he reached an old oak tree at the edge of the village. There, huddled beneath its gnarled branches, was a small dog. Its fur was matted and dirty, and it trembled as it pressed itself against the rough bark. Jean's heart sank at the sight. The dog's eyes were wide with fear and pain, glistening in the fading light. "Hey there, mon petit," Jean said softly, kneeling down to get closer. The dog flinched at his voice but didn't move away. Jean extended his hand slowly, palm up, trying to show that he meant no harm. "I won't hurt you." After what felt like an eternity, the dog cautiously approached him. Its body language was a mixture of fear and hope. It sniffed at Jean's hand before finally allowing him to stroke its head gently. The dog let out a soft whimper that tugged at Jean's heartstrings. "What happened to you?" he whispered as he continued to pet the trembling creature. The dog leaned into his touch, seeking comfort in a world that had been so cruel. Jean noticed a collar around the dog's neck, but it was worn and frayed. There was no tag attached. "You must have been lost," he said softly. "Let's get you home." With great care, Jean scooped up the small dog into his arms. It felt light and fragile against him, as if it had been starving for days. He could feel its heartbeat racing against his chest as they made their way back through the village. As they walked, Jean's mind raced with questions. Who had abandoned this poor creature? How long had it been out here alone? He felt a surge of anger towards whoever had left it to fend for itself in such a vulnerable state. Arriving at his modest cottage on Rue des Fleurs, Jean gently placed the dog on the ground. "Welcome home," he said with a warm smile. The cottage was simple but cozy. Wooden beams lined the ceiling and a fire crackled in the hearth. A faint aroma of fresh bread lingered in the air from earlier that day. The dog looked around with wide eyes before cautiously exploring its new surroundings. Jean watched as it sniffed at the furniture and wandered into the kitchen where he kept some leftover scraps from dinner. "Are you hungry?" he asked, moving to grab a bowl from a cupboard. He filled it with water and added some bits of bread and cheese before placing it on the floor. The dog hesitated for a moment but then eagerly devoured the food as if it hadn't eaten in days. Jean sat on the floor beside it, feeling an overwhelming sense of responsibility wash over him. "I think I'll call you Max," he said softly as he stroked its back. "You're safe now." As night fell and stars began to twinkle in the sky outside his window, Jean settled down on his sofa with Max curled up beside him. He felt an unexplainable connection to this little creature who had suffered so much yet still sought comfort from him. "I promise I'll help you," Jean whispered into the quiet night as Max drifted off to sleep beside him, a small figure of hope in a world that often seemed dark and unforgiving. Little did they both know that this was just the beginning of their journey together, a journey filled with challenges but also with healing and love that would change both their lives forever. The morning sun filtered through the lace curtains of Jean Dupont's cottage, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor. As the first rays of light danced across the room, Jean stirred awake, stretching his arms and glancing down at the small bundle curled up beside him. Max, the little dog he had found the night before, was still fast asleep, his soft breathing a soothing sound in the otherwise quiet morning. Jean smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. He had never owned a pet before, but something about Max felt special. This little creature had entered his life at a time when he least expected it, and he was determined to help him heal. After a quick breakfast of fresh bread and coffee, Jean turned his attention to Max. He gently ruffled the dog's fur to wake him. "Bonjour, mon ami," he said softly. Max blinked open his eyes, momentarily confused before remembering where he was. He stretched and let out a small yawn, then looked up at Jean with those soulful eyes that seemed to hold a world of stories. "Are you ready for your first full day at home?" Jean asked as he filled a bowl with fresh water and placed it beside Max. The dog approached cautiously, drinking eagerly as if he hadn't had water in days. Jean watched him with a mixture of concern and affection. After breakfast, Jean decided it was time for a walk. He grabbed a sturdy leash from a drawer, one that had belonged to his late brother's dog, and clipped it onto Max's collar. "Let's explore the village," he said cheerfully. As they stepped outside, the fresh air filled with the scent of blooming flowers greeted them. The village was waking up. Neighbors chatted over fences, and children played in the streets. Jean felt a sense of pride as he walked with Max by his side, but he also noticed how people's eyes lingered on the scruffy dog. Some looked curious, others wore expressions of pity. "Don't worry, Max," Jean reassured him as they walked past the bakery where the warm smell of croissants wafted through the air. "We'll get you all cleaned up soon." They strolled through the village square, where market stalls were being set up for the day's activities. The vibrant colors of fruits and vegetables contrasted beautifully with the rustic charm of Saint Laurent. As they passed by a stall selling fresh produce, an elderly woman named Madame Lefebvre waved at them. "Bonjour, Jean, and who is this little one?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. "This is Max," Jean replied, bending down to let Max sniff her hand. "I found him last night." Madame Lefebvre knelt beside them, her eyes softening as she looked at Max. "Poor thing," she said gently. "He looks like he's been through quite an ordeal." "He has," Jean admitted, feeling a surge of protectiveness over his new companion. "But I'm going to take care of him." "Good for you," she said with a smile. "If you need anything, food or supplies, don't hesitate to ask." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small packet of treats. "Here, give him these." Jean accepted the treats gratefully and watched as Max sniffed them eagerly before taking one from his hand. The dog wagged his tail for the first time since Jean had found him, and it filled Jean with joy. As they continued their walk, Jean noticed how Max began to relax more with each passing moment. He explored every nook and cranny of the village, the fountain in the square, the vibrant flower beds outside homes, and even greeted other dogs with cautious curiosity. By midday, they returned home after their adventure, both tired but content. Jean prepared lunch while Max settled on his favorite spot by the fireplace, a cozy nook that seemed to be just for him. As he ate his meal, a simple affair of bread and cheese, Jean reflected on how quickly their bond was forming. It amazed him how trust could blossom so rapidly between two souls who had both known pain in different ways. After lunch, Jean decided it was time for some grooming. He gathered supplies, a brush he had used for his brother's dog years ago and some warm water for bathing. When he approached Max with these items, however, he could see apprehension flicker in the dog's eyes. "It's okay," Jean said softly, kneeling beside him again. "I promise this will make you feel better." He gently brushed Max's fur before leading him to a shallow basin filled with warm water. Max hesitated but eventually stepped forward as Jean coaxed him gently. The warm water felt soothing against his skin as Jean carefully washed away days' worth of dirt and grime. "There you go," Jean murmured as he worked through knots in Max's fur while speaking softly to reassure him. "You're going to look so handsome." Max seemed to sense that Jean meant no harm. Gradually, he relaxed under the gentle strokes of the brush and water. When they finished, Max shook himself off vigorously, water splattering everywhere, and then looked up at Jean with an expression that seemed almost grateful. "You're looking much better." Jean laughed as he grabbed a towel to dry off what remained of the water on Max's fur. As evening approached and shadows lengthened across the room, they settled onto the sofa together once more, Jean with a book and Max nestled against his side. The warmth between them was palpable. It was as if they were two lost souls finding solace in each other's company. In that moment of quiet companionship, Jean realized that their journey together had only just begun but already felt profoundly significant. With each passing day, they would learn from one another, healing wounds both seen and unseen, and forging an unbreakable bond built on trust and love. "I'll always be here for you," he whispered into the stillness as he stroked Max's back gently. And as if understanding every word spoken between them, Max sighed contentedly and closed his eyes once more, a small dog finally finding peace in a world that had once been so frighteningly vast and lonely. As the weeks passed, Bella quickly became a vital part of Charlie's life, transforming not only his daily routine but also his perspective on what he could achieve. The bond between them deepened, and David watched in awe as Bella encouraged Charlie to engage more actively in both play and therapy. One sunny afternoon, David set up a small obstacle course in the backyard using cones, soft mats, and small ramps. He wanted to challenge Charlie while also making it fun. "Are you ready to try this, champ?" he asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. Charlie looked at the course with a mix of determination and apprehension. "Can Bella help me?" he asked, glancing at the eager dog who was already wagging her tail in anticipation. "Absolutely. Bella will be right by your side," David assured him. "Let's see what you can do together." With Bella at his side, Charlie wheeled himself to the starting line. "On your mark, get set, go," David called out, and Charlie pushed forward with all his might. Bella dashed ahead, encouraging him with joyful barks as she ran alongside him. As they navigated the course together, Charlie began to gain confidence. He maneuvered around the cones and even attempted to roll up the small ramp. Bella stayed close, her presence providing encouragement that made Charlie feel braver than ever. "Good job, you're doing it," David cheered as he watched Charlie make it halfway up the ramp. With Bella nudging him from behind, Charlie pushed himself harder and finally made it to the top. "I did it! I did it!" he shouted triumphantly, throwing his arms up in celebration. "Yes, you did it!" David cheered, rushing over to celebrate this small but significant victory. After several rounds of practice, Charlie's determination only grew stronger. He began to experiment with different movements in his wheelchair, turning sharper corners and even attempting to stand up briefly with Bella's support. Each small victory filled their home with laughter and hope. One evening during therapy at home, David noticed how Bella seemed to sense when Charlie was struggling. During one session, as Charlie attempted to lift himself from his wheelchair using the armrests for support, he faltered and frustration began to creep in. "Come on, buddy, you can do it," David encouraged from across the room. With renewed determination fueled by Bella's presence beside him, her gentle nudges and supportive energy, Charlie took a deep breath and tried again. This time he managed to lift himself slightly off the seat, a small but significant victory that brought tears of pride to David's eyes. "See, you're getting stronger every day," David praised as he rushed over to celebrate this milestone with both Charlie and Bella. In addition to physical progress, David noticed that Bella had an incredible impact on Charlie's emotional well-being. The little dog provided companionship that helped alleviate feelings of loneliness and frustration that sometimes accompanied Charlie's condition. One day after school, Charlie returned home bursting with excitement. "Dad, I told my class about Bella today. They want to meet her." "That's fantastic. How did they react?" David asked curiously. "They loved her. I showed them pictures and told them how she helps me during therapy," Charlie replied animatedly. David felt a swell of pride for his son. This newfound confidence was a testament to the impact Bella had on him. "Maybe we can arrange a little visit for your friends," he suggested with a smile. Over the next few weeks, they organized a small gathering where Charlie's classmates could come over to meet Bella. On the day of the event, laughter filled their backyard as children played games while Bella happily joined in on the fun. Charlie beamed as he watched his friends interact with Bella, throwing balls for her to fetch and petting her soft fur. The joy radiating from his son warmed David's heart. This was what he had hoped for, a chance for Charlie to connect with others while building friendships. As evening fell after an incredible day filled with laughter and connection, David felt grateful for how far they had come since adopting Bella. She had opened doors for Charlie that he never thought possible, encouraging him not just physically but also emotionally. That night when they returned home after their gathering, Charlie still buzzing with excitement, David tucked him into bed while Bella curled up at his feet, a comforting presence that reminded them both that love could conquer even life's toughest challenges. And as David turned off the light and closed the door behind him, he knew deep down that this journey wasn't just about physical progress, it was also about emotional resilience, the strength they would find together through every challenge faced along the way. That night when they returned home after their gathering, Charlie still buzzing with excitement, David tucked him into bed while Bella curled up at his feet, a comforting presence that reminded them both that love could conquer even life's toughest challenges. And as David turned off the light and closed the door behind him, he knew deep down that this journey wasn't just about physical progress. It was also about emotional resilience, the strength they would find together through every challenge faced along the way. As summer faded into autumn, the Thompson household was filled with a sense of hope and determination. Charlie was making remarkable progress in his therapy sessions, thanks in large part to Bella's unwavering support. However, as with any journey, challenges began to emerge that tested their resolve. One afternoon, David set up a therapy session in the living room, determined to help Charlie build strength and confidence. They had been working on upper body exercises that would allow Charlie to shift his weight more easily and eventually help him stand with support. Bella lay nearby, watching attentively as David encouraged Charlie to push himself. "Okay, buddy, let's try that again," David said, kneeling beside Charlie's wheelchair. "Remember to engage your core and use your arms to lift yourself." Charlie nodded, determination etched on his face. He took a deep breath and attempted to shift his weight from the wheelchair onto the mat beside him. But this time, he struggled more than usual. His hands slipped slightly, and frustration crept into his expression. "I can't do it," Charlie exclaimed, his voice tinged with disappointment. David felt a pang in his heart as he saw the frustration in his son's eyes. "You can do this, Charlie. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's part of learning," he reassured him gently. Bella sensed Charlie's distress and moved closer, nudging his arm with her nose. "Come on, Bella," Charlie said weakly. "I don't think I can." David watched as Bella leaned against Charlie's wheelchair, offering her warmth and support. "Look at Bella," he said softly. "She believes in you. Let's take it one step at a time." With renewed focus, Charlie took a deep breath and tried again. This time, he felt Bella's presence beside him, her gentle encouragement reminding him that he wasn't alone in this struggle. Slowly but surely, he shifted his weight again, using all his strength to pull himself onto the mat. "I'm doing it," he shouted triumphantly as he finally managed to slide onto the floor beside Bella. "Yes, you did it," David cheered as he rushed over to celebrate this small but significant victory. But as they continued their practice over the next few weeks, David noticed that Charlie was becoming increasingly frustrated with his progress, or lack thereof. There were days when Charlie would excel during therapy sessions and others when it felt like he was moving backward instead of forward. One evening after a particularly challenging day at therapy where Charlie had struggled to complete even the simplest exercises, he sat quietly in his wheelchair at the dinner table. David could sense something was off. Charlie was unusually quiet and withdrawn. "Hey buddy," David said gently as he placed a plate of spaghetti in front of him. "How was therapy today?" Charlie shrugged, pushing his food around on his plate without enthusiasm. "It was okay," he replied softly. David leaned closer, concern growing in his chest. "Just okay. You know it's all right to have tough days. I don't think I'm getting any better," Charlie admitted, tears welling in his eyes. "Bella helps me so much, but I still can't do what I want." David felt a lump form in his throat as he listened to his son's words. He wanted nothing more than to ease Charlie's pain but knew that sometimes facing challenges head-on was part of the journey. "Charlie," David said softly but firmly, "progress isn't always linear. There will be ups and downs along the way. It doesn't mean you're not improving." "But I want to run and play like everyone else," Charlie cried out, frustration spilling over into tears. David reached across the table and took Charlie's hand gently. "I know you do," he said compassionately. "And you will get there, one step at a time." That night after dinner, David decided they needed a change of pace, a way to lift Charlie's spirits and remind him of all the joy Bella had brought into their lives. He suggested they take Bella for a walk around the neighborhood. "Let's go for an adventure," David announced cheerfully as they prepared to head outside. Charlie hesitated for a moment but then nodded slowly. "Okay, but can we let Bella run?" "Absolutely. Let's find a nice spot where she can play," David replied with enthusiasm. As they wheeled down the street with Bella trotting happily beside them, her tail wagging energetically, David felt a sense of hope returning to their family dynamic. They reached a nearby park where there was an open field perfect for letting Bella run free. "All right, time for some fun," David exclaimed as they arrived at the park. He helped Charlie position himself so he could throw a ball for Bella to fetch. With each throw, Each joyful bark from Bella, Charlie began to smile again. Laughter bubbled up from deep within him as he watched her race after the ball with uncontainable energy. "Go get it, Bella," Charlie cheered each time she dashed off into the grass. After several rounds of fetch and laughter filled the air around them, David felt grateful for this moment of peace amidst their struggles. As evening fell and they headed home, exhausted but happy, David tucked Charlie into bed while Bella curled up at his feet, a comforting presence that reminded them both that love could conquer even life's toughest challenges. The next day brought new opportunities for growth as they resumed therapy sessions together, Charlie pushing through challenges while Bella provided motivation through every step taken along this journey toward healing. A journey filled with love waiting just around every corner. After several rounds of fetch and laughter filled the air around them, David felt grateful for this moment of peace amidst their struggles. As evening fell and they headed home, exhausted but happy, David tucked Charlie into bed while Bella curled up at his feet, a comforting presence that reminded them both that love could conquer even life's toughest challenges. The next day brought new opportunities for growth as they resumed therapy sessions together, Charlie pushing through challenges while Bella provided motivation through every step taken along this journey toward healing. A journey filled with love waiting just around every corner. And as David turned off the light and closed the door behind him that night, he knew deep down that no matter what obstacles lay ahead, they would face them together, with hope guiding their way forward toward brighter tomorrows filled with laughter and love. As autumn settled in, the Thompson household buzzed with anticipation. The leaves had turned brilliant shades of red and gold, and with the change of season came a new idea that had been forming in David's mind. He wanted to create an event that would not only celebrate Charlie's progress but also raise awareness about accessibility for children with disabilities. It was time to bring the community together. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, David shared his vision with Charlie. "What do you think about organizing a community event at the park?" he asked, leaning forward in his chair. "We could invite families from your school and the neighborhood to come together for a fun day." "Like a party?" Charlie asked, his eyes lighting up with excitement. "Exactly. We could have games, food, and maybe even a little demonstration of what you've been working on with Bella," David suggested. Charlie's face broke into a wide grin. "And we can have a dog show. Bella could show off her tricks." "That's a fantastic idea," David replied, feeling inspired by his son's enthusiasm. "We can invite everyone to bring their pets and have some fun contests." Over the next few weeks, David worked tirelessly to plan the event. He reached out to local businesses for donations, food, prizes for contests, and supplies for games. He also contacted the community center to reserve a space at the park and spread the word through flyers and social media. As the event day approached, excitement buzzed through Maplewood. Charlie helped with preparations, creating colorful posters that advertised their Pause for Progress event. He felt a sense of purpose as he watched his ideas come to life. On the day of the event, the sun shone brightly in a clear blue sky as families began to arrive at the park. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and the sounds of children playing. Charlie wheeled himself around, proudly showing Bella off to everyone who would listen. "Look at Bella," he exclaimed to another child who approached them. "She helps me every day." Bella basked in the attention, performing tricks that Charlie had taught her, rolling over, playing dead, and even fetching balls thrown by excited kids. The bond between them was evident. Bella seemed to thrive on Charlie's energy and joy. As afternoon turned into evening, it was time for the dog show. Families gathered around a makeshift stage where David stood ready to announce each contestant. "Welcome everyone to our first ever Pause for Progress dog show," he called out enthusiastically. Charlie beamed with pride as he watched Bella take center stage alongside other dogs from the neighborhood. They showcased their talents, jumping through hoops, performing tricks, and even participating in a friendly race across the grass. When it was Bella's turn, Charlie wheeled himself forward confidently. "This is Bella. She can do lots of tricks," he announced proudly. The crowd cheered as Bella performed flawlessly, rolling over on command and fetching a ball tossed by Charlie. The joy radiating from both boy and dog was infectious. Everyone clapped and cheered them on. After several rounds of performances, David gathered everyone together once more for awards. "Thank you all for participating. Every dog here is a winner," he said with enthusiasm. But we do have some special awards based on today's performances. He handed out ribbons for categories like Best Trick, Most Energetic, and Best Team. When it came time for the final award, Best Bond, David looked at Charlie and Bella with pride shining in his eyes. And this award goes to Charlie and Bella, he announced, holding up a shiny ribbon adorned with gold stars. Charlie's face lit up with joy as he wheeled forward to accept his award. Bella barked happily beside him as they received cheers from their friends and neighbors. I couldn't have done it without you, Bella, Charlie exclaimed, hugging her tightly. As evening fell and families began packing up their things after an incredible day filled with laughter and connection, David felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him. This event had not only raised awareness but also fostered community spirit, a reminder that they were not alone in their journey. As they headed home that night, Charlie clutching his ribbon proudly while Bella trotted beside him, David knew deep down that this was just the beginning of something beautiful. They had created connections that would last beyond this day, a network of support that would help them navigate challenges together moving forward. In that moment, surrounded by love and laughter, David realized how far they had come since adopting Bella. She had transformed not only Charlie's life but also their family dynamic, bringing hope where there had once been uncertainty. And as they settled down together at home that night, Bella curling up next to Charlie while David tucked him into bed, he felt grateful for every step taken along this journey toward healing. A journey where love blossomed anew amid life's challenges, a journey that would continue unfolding before them like an open road filled with possibilities waiting just around every corner. As the leaves continued to fall and the air turned crisp, the Thompson household felt a renewed sense of purpose. The success of the Pause for Progress event had not only brought the community together but had also inspired Charlie to push himself further in his therapy. With Bella by his side, he was more determined than ever to make progress. One chilly Saturday morning, David decided it was time for a new challenge. How about we try something different today? He suggested while they were having breakfast. I've been thinking we could go to the community center for some adaptive sports activities. They have a program for kids with disabilities. Charlie's eyes widened with excitement. Really? What kind of sports? They have wheelchair basketball, adaptive cycling, and even swimming, David explained, watching as Charlie's enthusiasm grew. I thought it might be fun for you to try something new with Bella cheering you on. Can Bella come with us? Charlie asked eagerly. Of course, she can be your mascot, David replied with a smile. After breakfast, they bundled up and headed out to the community center. As they arrived, Charlie felt a mix of nerves and excitement. The building was buzzing with activity, children were laughing and playing in various areas, and the atmosphere was filled with energy. Once inside, they were greeted by friendly staff who explained the different activities available that day. Charlie's eyes lit up as he saw other kids in wheelchairs playing basketball on one side of the gym. Can I try that? He asked, pointing excitedly. Absolutely, one of the staff members said, guiding them toward the court. We'll get you set up with a chair and some practice shots. David helped Charlie transfer into an adaptive basketball wheelchair, which was specially designed for mobility and speed. As Charlie adjusted to his new chair, Bella sat beside him, her tail wagging in encouragement. Ready to show them what you've got? David asked, giving Charlie a reassuring smile. With a determined nod, Charlie wheeled himself onto the court where other kids were already playing. He felt a rush of adrenaline as he picked up a basketball and took aim at the hoop. Go for it, David cheered from the sidelines. Charlie took a deep breath and shot the ball toward the hoop. It missed but bounced off the backboard and rolled back to him. Undeterred, he tried again, and this time, it swooshed through the net. I did it, I scored, Charlie shouted in disbelief as laughter and cheers erupted from his new friends on the court. Bella barked happily, joining in on the celebration as she raced around Charlie's wheelchair. Encouraged by his success, Charlie played on, his confidence growing with each shot he made. After an hour of basketball fun, they took a break to hydrate and regroup. Charlie was flushed with excitement, he couldn't believe how much fun he had just experienced. That was amazing, he said breathlessly as he sipped water. Can we do that again? David nodded enthusiastically. Of course, and there's still more to try today. Next, they moved outside to where adaptive bicycles were set up. Staff members helped Charlie transfer onto a specially designed bike that allowed him to pedal using his arms instead of legs. "Are you ready?" David asked as they adjusted the straps to secure him safely in place. "Yes, let's go," Charlie exclaimed, determination shining in his eyes. With Bella trotting alongside him, Charlie began pedaling down a gentle slope. The wind rushed past him as he gained speed. It felt exhilarating to be moving so freely. Laughter bubbled up from deep within him as Bella kept pace beside him, her ears flapping in the breeze. "This is so cool," Charlie shouted joyfully as he rode around in circles on the flat path designated for adaptive cycling. After several laps around the track, each one filled with laughter and encouragement, Charlie finally slowed down and came to a stop beside David. "I can't believe I did that. It felt like flying." David grinned widely at his son's excitement. "You're doing incredible things today. I'm so proud of you." Finally, they made their way to the swimming pool area where adaptive swimming lessons were taking place. Although Charlie had been nervous about trying swimming due to his condition, he felt emboldened by his earlier successes that day. With Bella resting contentedly by their bags on a nearby bench, her presence always providing comfort, Charlie donned his swim gear and stepped into the shallow end of the pool with David by his side. "Just take your time," David encouraged as they entered the water together. "You've got this." With gentle guidance from an instructor who specialized in adaptive swimming techniques, Charlie began practicing floating and kicking while holding onto a flotation device. At first, he struggled but soon found his rhythm, his laughter echoing through the pool area as he splashed playfully in the water. "I'm swimming," Charlie exclaimed joyfully as he floated on his back for the first time, feeling weightless and free. As they wrapped up their day filled with new experiences, David couldn't help but feel grateful for how far they had come since adopting Bella. She had not only transformed Charlie's life but also opened doors to new opportunities for growth and connection within their community. On their way home that evening, Charlie still buzzing with excitement while Bella curled up at his feet, David reflected on how much this journey had changed them all. They had faced challenges together but had also celebrated countless victories along the way, a testament to resilience fueled by love and companionship. As they settled down together at home that night, Charlie clutching his favorite action figure while Bella lay beside him, David knew deep down that this journey was only beginning. There would be more adventures ahead filled with laughter and love waiting just around every corner. And as he turned off the light and closed the door behind him, he felt hopeful about what tomorrow would bring. A new day filled with possibilities waiting just beyond their doorstep, a journey where love blossomed anew amid life's challenges, a journey that would continue unfolding before them like an open road inviting them forward into brighter tomorrows ahead.